Hi everyone, I'm Rada. I'm a senior at Vanderbilt involved with VSVS, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to do the Why is Mars Red lesson. To begin, you want to hold up the Mars images that are found in your lesson plan binder and ask students questions like, what's the coolest thing in space? Then you want to introduce Mars and say that it's the fourth planet from the sun, right after the Earth, and it has 2 moons. And you want to make sure the students notice that the surface is red. And then you want to say that scientists study Mars to look for signs of life, understand its climate and geology, and prepare for human exploration. Then you just want to ask the key question that says, why is Mars red? And then you'll tell students that we think something in the soil reacted with the oxygen. So these are the materials we're going to test: zinc, wood, iron, and charcoal. Next, you're going to want to have students to fluff up the cotton balls like so. And once they do that for all 4, you're going to have them place one in each of the 4 cups. And this is just so that nothing will fall through to the bottom. So once the students have fluffed up the cotton balls so they're less spherical and placed them each into the 4 1-ounce cups, you're then going to want to tell your students to scoop a small amount of each material: the zinc fillings, wood shavings, iron fillings, and charcoal pellets. You're going to want to tell them to scoop a small amount of each into a different cup, and you're going to want to make sure to emphasize to use a different spoon for each, because we don't want to contaminate our results. So that's why we use a fresh spoon for each material. So just make sure you emphasize that to your students. So once all of the materials are in the cups, you're going to want to tell students to put a little bit of salt and a squirt of hydrogen peroxide on top of each material in the cups. So after this, you're going to want to ask students what materials they think will react and turn red in the presence of oxygen and hydrogen peroxide, and tell them to record this in their observation sheets. And then you want to explain that the iron rusted, which produced the reddish-orange color on the cotton ball. That means that there is a lot of iron on the soil in Mars that is rusting and becoming iron oxide. So then you want to tell your students to look at the periodic table they have in their bag and find iron, or Fe, on it. This is an element, and then you're going to want to tell students that elements are the building blocks of matter. Each square on the periodic table is a different element, and both iron and oxygen are elements. Then you're going to want to tell students that compounds are made up of 2 or more elements that are chemically bonded, and show them the rust or the iron oxide model, and explain that there are 2 kinds of atoms on there, and they are connected to each other. There are 2 iron atoms, the red ones, for every 3 oxygen atoms, the blue ones. This is iron oxide, Fe2O3. The conditions have to be right for a chemical reaction to happen, so the bonds between atoms can form to make the compound. So next you're going to want to hand out the 3 sealed bottles of iron metal, iron fillings, and iron oxide with a white Teflon magnet to each pair. You're going to want to ask the questions on your instruction sheet, and then you want to explain that iron oxide is a compound because it has 2 different elements, iron and oxygen, which are chemically combined. The small numbers give the ratio of elements in the compound. So then you're going to want to tell your students that every compound has its own properties, which are different from the properties of the elements that make up the compound. After this, you're going to want to tell students to use the magnet on each vial to see which are magnetic and which aren't. So iron is a solid metal, it's hard, it's shiny, and it is attracted to magnets. Iron oxide, however, is a powder. It's red and it is not attracted to a magnet.